So when I first bought my house, it was pretty much a stupid decision at the time, but it turned out to be very smart. And there was just this overwhelming feeling of potential or inspiration. And so I really threw logic out the window on that decision. And financial decisions and throwing logic out the window isn't always the best way to go about things, but it worked out. So part of the house is built on an old rock foundation. And when they did something with the water lines, they had to put this big water pipe through the rock. And so part of the foundation does not look so good. It looks heaved in from that. And when we bought the house, we looked at it and we got a couple different opinions, and everyone said, yeah, it's probably fine. I think it's fine. But where a rock foundation is such an unknown quantity, really, nobody could actually assure us that it was okay. So I ended up completely obsessing over this, and I had a really hard time thinking about it and thinking that all my efforts were in vain when I was working on a project in the house, that maybe possibly this foundation, we should have worked on this first, or we should have done something about it first. And I really believe that it would have been a huge waste of money, but I had a horrible time just dropping this perspective. And I realize now how incredibly symbolic and as a manifestation of something psychological and something pointing to something greater than just a house it was. So Jesus has the quote or parable, a house built upon the sand. And it was Rupert Spira's The Nature of Consciousness, when he talked about our taking ourselves to be a self and not realizing that the foundation of that is awareness itself. And he put it together with that saying from Jesus, a house built upon the sand. And that just struck me. And yet this perspective of having to get the foundation right, I realized what incredible grace there is in that, essentially I've had the foundation wrong my entire life. Living in the past, I've had the foundation wrong, and yet that's impossible. It's already the foundation. Having the foundation wrong in the past is going into a past which isn't actual, the foundation of which is now. You cannot get the foundation wrong. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that the biggest relief you could ever possibly have? And then anything we build, we can completely align with. Anything we build on that foundation can be built with our full trust, with going whatever we want to imagine, can be built without having to think back, did I get the foundation right? Because the foundation is nothing. It's the centerless center. I made a video in the past using the Rubik's Cube as an analogy, and how we have to sort of stick with the Rubik's Cube instead of getting so frustrated with it or not having enough passion to stick with it that we get rid of it. So I never spent any amount of time on the Rubik's Cube. I never learned how to solve one or anything. And so my son has gotten into Rubik's Cubes, and he bought one. And last night my husband was like, yeah, the center never changes. So that's how you solve it. The center never changes. And so we are like, there's no top, no bottom, no beginning, no end, the Alpha and the Omega, the happily ever before. There is no center, and that is the very foundation. The now is the very foundation of it all. And so you cannot get it wrong. So we begin with self-actualization. We want to make the most of our lives. We want to have a passionate existence. We want to do inspiring things. We want to see everything. We want to feel the depths of our feelings. We want success. We want to make the most of it. And of course we do. This is the creative birthright, the creative potential. And yet, when you realize that your foundation of it is that you cannot get it wrong, that's when everything is suddenly possible. And so we cycle in these loops of trying to get somewhere, of trying to make something, all on the, oh crap, it's just hitting me. All on the foundation of thinking that ourselves are flawed. Ourselves is the foundation, trying to make ourselves into something spectacular. With the foundation of thinking ourselves are flawed, when what we think of as ourselves is really awareness. Holy cow.